Hey now, what's up everybody? Justin here again to do my third video of the day. SmackDown Live is tonight. I'll be watching it. I'll be live tweeting it at NXT WWE Guy. I won't be doing a SmackDown Live review. Maybe next week I will be. Probably next week, but not tonight. Because I got two more videos to do, and here is one of them. Another countdown video, top 5 managers of the 80s. Top 5 managers of the 80s. I started watching wrestling in 1987. So I'm a fan of 80s wrestling, fan of 90s wrestling, well, fan of every decade really that I've been alive of wrestling. A lot of these managers are, well, 3 of them were big stars in the, 3 of them were big stars in the WWF in the 80s. And 2 others were not in the WWF. But I'm a fan of all wrestling from the 80s, NWA, WCW, WWF. AWA had some good stuff in the very early 80s, and around 87 they had some good matches with Kurt Hennig, Nick Bockwinkel, but other than that, the AWA, I barely watched it when I was a kid. I barely saw it on TV. I don't know when it aired, but they did better stuff. I mean, AWA did better stuff in the early 80s in my opinion. Here we go with my top 5 managers of the 80s. My number 5 is Captain Lou Albano. The guy was a manager very long time in the WWF, then the WWF. The guy managed, I believe, 17 or 16 tag team champions of the world. He managed a lot of them. He managed the Strong Bulls, the Valiant Brothers he managed to the tag titles, and he managed a lot of other teams. The British Bulldogs he managed. So Captain Lou Albano, the guy was a great manager. And then the guy became famous when he got put in Cyndi Lauper's Girls Just Want to Have Fun video. He actually got put in that music video in the 80s. And he became even more famous. I believe he played Cyndi Lauper's father in that video. So that was I wouldn't say a great song, but it was a big hit for Cyndi Lauper in the 80s. And WWF was working with MTV and the Rock and Wrestling Connection. That was a brilliant, genius move for Vince McMahon Jr. to do, because it brought a lot of MTV's young audience and teenagers and young fans that watched MTV videos. It brought them over to the WWF, and so they started becoming WWF wrestling fans. And then Captain Lou Albano, even after he's in one of Cyndi Lauper's videos, then he got put in Super Mario Brothers cartoon TV show. I believe part of it was a cartoon. Anyways, Captain Lou Albano was, I believe he played Mario. I don't think he's Luigi. I think he's Mario in the Super Mario Brothers cartoon, or whatever it was called. Super Mario Brothers TV show, whatever it was called, I don't remember. But I know Captain Lou Albano was in it. And I believe it's in the late 80s. So Captain Lou Albano, my number 5, top 5 manager of the 80s. My number 4 is Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman started in the AWA, was pretty good there, cut great promos there that were entertaining. Then he went to the NWA, WCW in 88. He was pretty damn good there. Then in 89 he was still there, 90, 91, 92. Paul Heyman was still in WCW. He started the Dangerous Alliance, but that was in the 90s. In the 80s, Paul Heyman was pretty damn entertaining. He's my number 4 because of his promos and his talking ability. And he's a pretty good manager too. My number 3, manager of the 80s. Number 3, James J. Dillon, J.J. Dillon, the manager of the Four Horsemen. The guy was great. He was very good as part of the Four Horsemen. He also was a pretty damn good talker when he would talk on TV. And J.J. Dillon, of course, the guy managed the tag champions, TV champion, world champion, because the Horsemen at one time had all the gold. Even managed the U.S. champion at one time when Barry Windham won the U.S. title. Or maybe that was after J.J. Dillon left. Because I believe he left at the end of '88. My number 2, manager of the 80s. My number 2 is Jimmy Hart, the mouth of the South. Jimmy Hart, the guy managed a ton of guys. He managed King Kong Bundy, a lot of guys. Hart Foundation, of course, he managed them to the tag titles a couple times. Then he managed the Rougeau brothers. Then he managed Greg Valentine and a lot of guys, man. I can't even name all the guys. I'm trying to think and remember. The most famous guys Jimmy Hart managed were Hart Foundation, Greg Valentine, and a couple other guys. Of course, in the 90s, he managed even more guys, like the Mountie and a ton of guys. So Jimmy Hart, the guy was great. He was always a great manager. The guy could really get under the fan's skin as a heel. He was great. My number 1, of course, you should be able to guess what my number 1 greatest manager, top 5 manager of the 80s. My number 1 is Bobby the Brain Heenan. The guy was, in my opinion, the greatest manager of all time. It's probably him number 1 and Paul Heyman number 2, in my opinion. Bobby Heenan was so great. The guy had tremendous heat from the fans. Of course, they started the Weasel chant. That was entertaining as hell. Bobby Heenan managed King Kong Bundy, Hercules, Andre the Giant, the Brain Busters, a ton of teams, a ton of guys. At one point, he managed Paul Orndorff. At one point, Bobby Heenan tried to sell Paul Orndorff, or he sold a couple of his wrestlers to other managers. That was pretty funny. I think at one point he blamed Paul Orndorff on Tuesday Night Titans for the loss at WrestleMania 1. He blamed him, then Paul Orndorff got pissed and left Bobby Heenan and became, I believe, a babyface. I don't really remember. So, I think he tried to sell Paul Orndorff for Rick Rude, and then, of course, Bobby Heenan managed Rick Rude to the Intercontinental title. He managed the Brainbusters to the tag titles. And he managed Andre the Giant and Haku to the tag titles when they won them. I mean, Bobby Heenan was such a great, legendary, iconic manager. But to me, the guy was more entertaining on commentary. I just enjoyed him more when he talked on Primetime Wrestling and when he talked on commentary and worked on commentary. He didn't work any pay-per-views, sadly, on commentary in the 80s, but I believe in 1991, Bobby Heenan started calling pay-per-views with Gorilla Monsoon. His first pay-per-view was WrestleMania 7 that he called on commentary. So Bobby Heenan, number 1 manager of the 80s, but to me, he was more entertaining as a commentator. Hope you enjoyed this top 5, the top 5 managers of the 80s. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day. Bye for now.